All right, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a deep dive into the mind-bending world of White Boy Rick, the Crips, and a whole lot of prison hustle. Buckle up, because this ride is about to get wild. Now, picture this. You're sitting in the penitentiary, right? The vibe is tense. It's like a game of chess where everyone's looking for their next move. And our boy, White Boy Rick, he's right in the middle of the action. The Crips are scheming, and they've set their sights on him. Thought they could pull a fast one by saying he took something out of the pack? Well, let's see how that tall tale unfolds. So, the master plans of the Crips are quite comical when you really get down to it. They gather a bunch of flunkies. Those are our entry-level players, kind of like the interns of the street hustle. These guys wouldn't know a smart move if it hit them in the face. With a little temporary weed stash, suddenly they rise to the occasion. They're calling up their little preparations to transport it across the yard from one cell to another, like they're transferring top secret classified material when it's really just reefer. Hey bro, can you do me this solid? I'll toss you a couple bucks for commissary or hook you up with a smoke. Who can resist that, right? But little do they know, they're diving headfirst into the deep end of a shady business. Rip's caught between a rock and a hard place. He's just chilling, minding his business, and suddenly finds himself in the middle of a setup. The Crips are totally in control, acting like minor league mobsters. It's more laughable than scary. But in a place like prison, the stakes are real. They've got their fingers on the pulse of the hustle, and Rick squeezed right in. Now, the craziness kicks off when things go awry. Somewhere along the way, the weed gets shorted and they're pointing fingers like a game of hot potato. First rule of prison, don't be the potato. Rick gets the call up on speaker. Yo, Rick, what's good? You said it was a full pack, but now we're seeing half. What gives? And there he is, our boy, looking like a deer in headlights. Dude, I'm not even part of this mess. I didn't touch a thing. But you know how this dance goes in the slammer. Once you roped in, you might as well be in the ring. So either Rick says, all right, how much do I owe you for your little misunderstanding? Or this can escalate into an embarrassing scene where Rick is the one getting shaken down for money like some street level nobody. And let's be real, this isn't just about the money. No, my friends, it's about pride. Being disrespected in a joint comes with a whole new level of consequences. You've got your reputation on the line, and let me tell you, nothing carries a punch quite like street cred in the penitentiary. It's like gold, worth more than any amount of commissary snacks. As Rick weighs his options, he realizes he's got to come up with a master plan of his own. He's not going to let these flunkies run him into the ground. So our boy slows his roll, collects his thoughts, and starts thinking about what really matters here. Now, while all this chaos unfolds, we glance over to Paul, who's caught up in the shenanigans cyclone. Poor guy thought he was just going to hang out and smoke chill time with old Rick, but instead the Crips pulled him into their web of deceit. I didn't even want to get involved, he cries. But this isn't your everyday drama. This is penitentiary life. You either adapt or get trampled. And since Paul's in the deep end now, he's got to navigate his way through this mess too. So there's Rick on one side of the yard and Paul now on the other, both getting the heat turned up on them. They're two soldiers in an unseen war. It's like chess without the board. Every move counts. Let's take a moment to unpack this whole transporting weed scheme by the Crips. It's a classic playbook how to use pawns to do your dirty work while keeping your hands clean. They like puppeteers, pulling strings from the shadows. And right here is where every hustler needs to come to terms with a hard truth. If you play the game, The game will play you right back, baby. Here's where the tension thickens. Paul, the unsuspecting good guy, agrees to take weed over because why not? What's a little errand instead of a friendly smoke session? But oops, Paul gets hemmed up because the count came up short. Suddenly he's the scapegoat and Rick's left thinking, how did I get wrapped up in this? Lost in that mess is also the reality of prison life. Good dudes get caught in the crossfire while the true hustlers laugh from the sidelines. It's a harsh environment where loyalty is often tested against the very real shadows of betrayal. At this point, Rick's inner voice is like, yo, you need to address this before it escalates. He's got to take the wheel and steer through this storm. So he rallies some support, approaches the other inmates, and tries to put the flames out before it ignites into a full-blown riot. Listen up, fellas. We're not letting these clowns drag us down. If we take one hit, we all go down. Meanwhile, word gets around about Paul's predicament, and now Rick is in problem-solving mode. He starts to piece together the madness. Maybe if I step in and clear things up with the Crips, I can salvage this whole situation and Paul's neck. But the Crips are not about to let this slide. They see a target, an easy score. They smell blood in the water. Look at this like a dogfight. Every team always has its alpha, and right now Rick is the prey. They're leading the charge, and Rick has to step up, stand his ground, and say, not today. So what does Rick do? He gathers the troops. All right, team, we're not going down without a fight. We're going to expose this scheme for what it is. They strategize, like an old school heist movie. They map out their plan, huddle together, and don't let one of their own take the fall for something that wasn't even his doing. But here's the kicker. Rick needs to convince the right people first. The higher-ups in the tier want his word that he's going to make it right, so he steps up to the plate. Gathering the smaller fish together, he highlights the truth. If we're going to avoid chaos in here and keep our lives manageable, we need some transparency in this operation. The pressure is building as Rick continues to navigate these tricky waters. He's also got to keep Paul calm. Ain't got no room for panic in the system. Every moment counts and every word can spark pride or settle it. We're in this together, bro. We'll make it through. And you know what's wild? While all this is happening with the inmates, there's a whole world outside that Rick is missing. The hustle he's used to is shifting, and now he's got to adapt to survive. Think about it. Life in the penitentiary is like a boxing match. You got to bob, weave, and take some hits, but you can't allow yourself to get knocked out. And then, oh boy, just when you think the wave is calm, here comes the police officer walking into the chaos. Did he hear the whispers? Are they onto something? The fear ripples through the cell block, and Rick is like, if they open that door, it'll be game over. Suddenly, the stakes are raised as they wonder whether they can keep their setups hidden or if the police are going to come in with unfriendly intentions. Now, every hustler in for the long haul knows this game. It's one thing to hustle, but it's a whole different ball game when the officers are involved in this intricate dance. One wrong move could see you locked up in your cell faster than you can say, just kidding. But Rick isn't sweating bullets yet. He's got ice in his veins and is plotting how to spin just a bit more before anyone catches wind. All right, this isn't my first rodeo, he thinks, playing the long game. Just play it cool, keep your tea hot, and don't spill the beans. And the camaraderie begins to build. Bills are traded and alliances form. There's a sense of community as everyone begins to band together to sidestep the drama. It's about survival of the fittest. They're dodging cutthroat schemes and creating something bigger, a brotherhood, even if it's all rooted in a mess of weed and Wild West tactics. But as the drama unfolds, you can feel tension crackling in the air. It's like waiting for fireworks to go off or for a bomb to drop. While everyone's holding their breath, Rick knows he needs the big player on his side, and if you don't guess who, let me give you a hint. power. Rick rides on the idea that if he can persuade the right folks, he can turn this all around. Let's get our story straight. Let's put the narrative in our hands. Now imagine everyone sitting in their cells, thinking the very same thing. How can I profit off this? How can I save my skin without losing face? You see, once you become part of the penitentiary, your survival instinct kicks in, powering your every move. But we can't help but chuckle at the absurdity of it all. You have a bunch of wannabe mobsters in a cement jungle thinking they can run the streets with passes like, "I just need a cigarette," and "do me a favor." It's as if they've forgotten they're all in the same boat. Rick eventually heads back to check up on Paul. "Look, dude, I gotta tell you, it's getting hairy, but if we stay together, we can ride this wave." Paul, looking visibly shaken, agrees, and they both settle down with a sigh. "Let's get through this like grown men," Rick cheers, and they hug it out. In that moment, they realize they owe it to each other to keep their heads above water. The Crips, they can challenge Rick all they want. But one thing's for sure, this is a dog fight. Minds over muscles. As days roll on, tension remains thick, and every passing moment feels like a countdown. The Crips are taking no for an answer, and rumors fly faster than a game of telephone. Rick takes a moment to chill. "I need to strategize. If I play it smart, I can garner support." The next phase is to play the puppeteer himself. Rick circles back to some of the guys on the yard who owe him favors, planting the seeds of, "Let's take these flunkies out for good." Now, here's the kicker. You can't make enemies without playing the part, and Rick's determined to protect his own while leading the charge against the Crips' hold. Tensions mount as Rick prepares for the showdown, strategizing with those who've got his back. Every breath feels charged with electricity as whispers of a potential fight circulate through the prison block. Everyone wants to know just where allegiances lie while tensions simmer. "It's not about me, it's about the crew," Rick muses, flipping through the threaded challenges of life behind bars. Then comes the day of reckoning. It's all or nothing. The Crips gather, ready for confrontation, and Rick steps up to the plate, refusing to back down. The air is filled with adrenaline, and camaraderie stirs as every guy braves the field as one. I also can't help but wonder about the ridiculousness of it all. Wouldn't it be interesting if they could take this theatrical showdown and turn it into a movie? A gritty prison drama filled with absurd twists and comical missteps, yet telling a story of unity and resilience. Who would play White Boy Rick, I ponder? Someone tough but witty, like a modern-day MacGyver in prison boots. As words fly and fists are clenched, confusion reigns, and ripples of laughter break the fever-pitched tension. What in the world happened here? Rick thinks, navigating through the fray, rising above the chaos and bringing it back to the real cause, loyalty and brotherhood. The dust settles, and the Crips realize they've underestimated Rick. They've scuttled the ship of dreams. Now it's all about establishing a new normal. Rick takes a deep breath, looks around, and realizes that despite the challenges, he's built something deeper than struggle. He has created a family within these prison walls. It's not just about surviving, it's about thriving, working together as a unit, moving up the prison food chain, and laughing off the absurdity while cementing friendships worth more than gold. So next time you think about the tales from the inside, remember, it's a wild world. Challenges, laughter, and hustling your way through life are all part of the game. And our boy Rick, he's at the center of it all, taking the lead and proving that you can stand your ground while still being the star of the show. A hard lesson earns respect. Fighting battles you believe in earns allies, even against the toughest odds. And in the wild tapestry of prison life, Rick has woven himself into an iconic character you won't forget. Thanks for joining me in this roller coaster ride of camaraderie, crime, and chaos. Until next time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Has prison ever made you rethink the idea of hustling? And have a great day, everyone.